Hi everyone, great to see you all again and welcome to another video on my channel. Before we get started, I would just like to ask you, as always, if you've not already done so, please hit that subscribe button as it helps me to grow the channel so much. And if you enjoy my content, if you like this video, do please take the time to hit the thumbs up button as well. You can also become a member by clicking the join button. Take a look at the various levels of membership that you can sign up for and gain various perks. So that's the housekeeping out of the way. So what is the topic of today's video? I had a wonderful member reach out to me in the comments of one of my earlier videos on the channel, which was about adding domain DNS records to add your domains into Microsoft 365, and he said to me it would be very helpful if I actually demonstrated that process of adding the actual records into the DNS hosting control panel. So that's what we're going to do in this video. Without any further ado, let's dive in. Before we start on this video, I want to give some credit to someone who posted a comment in one of my earlier videos. How do I add a domain to Microsoft 365? And at Bakadietz mentioned in the comments, great content. I'm not finished viewing the video, but wanted to suggest, for me, I would love to see how you add DNS records to your DNS registrar. I know how to do it, but I guess it would be helpful, especially for newbies. Now, when I made this video, I thought to myself, there's little point in demonstrating this process because every DNS registrar control panel is a little bit different. So where's the value in it? But maybe I underestimated how useful that would be, even if these things do differ very, very slightly. So we'll give this a go. Let's go through the process again in this video of adding a new domain into my Microsoft 365 tenant and then verifying it in my control panel in my domain hosting. So let's get started with this. Now, I use Namecheap as my DNS hosting control panel and domain provider of choice, and but there are many other providers out there where you can get your domains and where you can register your domains and add your DNS records to verify ownership and set up certain services within Microsoft 365 for those domains when you add them into your tenant. So if we scroll down here in my Namecheap control panel, in fact, let's go back a little step. In case you have Namecheap as your provider of choice, on your homepage, what you'll usually find is that you'll click on your account or control panel or something like that, depending on what your provider is, and go into your dashboard. You will typically see your domains there, and then you can manage them. Now, I already have these two domains here introduced into my Microsoft 365 tenant, and those of you who've watched along with my videos previously will recognize these. We have GandalfM365.com, we have PeterRisingM365.com as well, and all the DNS records that I need are added into my tenant. So I've just purchased a new domain today called InceptionMatrix.com. This will probably give you a clue to what two of my very favorite films are. I was actually amazed that this was available, if I'm completely honest. But I've got it. It's ready to manage, and I can go ahead and I can click on manage that domain. And now, with a lot of these domain providers, you'll have to go one step further to enter domain records into the control panel by clicking on Advanced DNS, in this case for Namecheap. So we'll go into Advanced DNS, and here we can see the area where we can add new records. Cool. So we need to have this standing by. Now I need to switch over to my Microsoft 365 tenant. I'm logged in to admin.microsoft.com, the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. Let's just show all here. And I'm going to go to Settings and Domains. And as we previously mentioned, we've got those other two domains in, the Peter Rising M365 domain, which is our default domain. We've got Gandalf M365 as well. And they're all looking nice and healthy, green ticks in the status column, which is awesome. I'm going to add in my new domain right here, and we'll go right through the process of adding in all of those domain records in my control panel in Namecheap in this case. So what is the name of my brand new shiny domain? It is Inception, great film. Matrix, also a great film, well the first one at least, .com, inceptionmatrix.com. Amazing. Well, I'm happy with that. That's what I want, so I'm going to go ahead and use that domain. Okay, we are loading. And we have to now verify that we own this domain before we can fully add it to the Microsoft 365 tenant. We can do this in three different ways. We can add a TXT or a text record to the domain's DNS records. If you can't add a TXT record, you can add an MX record in the domain's DNS records. And this is recommended only if TXT records are not supported by your domain host or registrar, which is quite unusual. And if I'm honest, I've never come across that. You can also add a text file to the domain's website. This is recommended if you've already set up a website using this domain, for example, www.inceptionmatrix.com. I have not done this, so I'm going to accept the default recommendation here of adding a TXT record to the domain's DNS record. So I'm happy with that selection. I'm going to click on Continue. So it's going to give me the values that I need to add. So I need to add my TXT name, which is going to be the @sign, which is quite common on DNS hosting providers. It will tell you quite often to skip the @sign if not supported by the provider. Again, I found this to be quite rare. Usually you can add the @ in. You need to add in the text value, which it must be this precise entry here, MS equals MS and then a long number. We can copy these records to the clipboard actually. I'm going to copy this middle one because that's the hardest to remember and I'm familiar with these other two records. The final one being the TTL, which is the time to live. And this is 3600 or your provider default. So I've got those details. I'm going to switch back over to my advanced DNS on, in this case, namecheap.com. And I am going to go and add in a new record here. So we'll go and click on there and we can scroll down here the various different types of records that we can add to our domain in our hosting provider here. I need a TXT record. There we go. The host, as you might recall, was recommended to be the @sign. The value, I copy that to the clipboard, so I'll paste that in. TTL, we can set automatic or 60 minutes or 30 minutes, 20 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever. In this case, I'll leave this as automatic and set the provider default. So there we go. And that is absolutely fine. I'll go ahead and I'll save the changes there. It's added the record. Absolutely brilliant. Okay, that is added there now. Fantastic. Now we can go back to our M365 admin center and depending on how quickly this populates around the internet, you'll be able to verify this. You might have to be a little bit patient for this. So it hasn't detected the record yet, so we might just need to give this a few moments. This is always the part where I get a little bit paranoid and I worry that I've entered something incorrectly, but you can double check this in the meantime if you are concerned that you've done something incorrectly by going to mxtoolbox.com, which is a very handy website where you can look up all sorts of DNS records. And I am going to look at inceptionmatrix.com. You have to do an MX lookup first. MX being mail exchanger records, which deals with all of the mail flow settings. So now that we've done that, what we can do is go down and scroll down through this drop down list and look at TXT lookup, hit enter on that, and oh, there we go. It's got it there now, and it's put it in as the TTL of the default automatic setting, which is set it to 30 minutes. Okay, you'll notice that there is an SPF text record in there as well, which is in there as default. So if we go back to our M365 Admin Center now, let's just try that again. We'll click on try again, and hopefully we'll get a little bit further now. And indeed we have. So we just needed to be that little bit patient, but that was in real time. I didn't pause the video or anything like that or do any editing. That was absolute real time that we saw that. So nice and quick. Next, let's click on continue, see what happens next. So we've verified ownership there. Now we need to decide what we are going to add in terms of records for our domain that we've just verified ownership of. Now, you'll get the commonly adopted records that most organizations will put in place. So Exchange and Exchange Online Protection. Most organizations will be using this for Exchange Online, unless of course you are using a different MX provider. If you're using a third-party mail flow and mail hygiene service like Mimecast, for example, or Semantic Cloud or something like that. But so we want those records, and it's going to tell us here what we have to input in order to verify those records. So if we drill down here, MX records, it shows us what is expected here, the hostname of again, the value, inception matrix -com.mail.protection.outlook.com. Then we've got some CNAME records as well that we need to enter. We've got the Autodiscover record, points to autodiscover.outlook.com, and this tells clients when they try and connect to their mail accounts at outlook.office.com to get their Exchange Online email, it directs them where to go to look for their mailbox. We've got some text records here. This is a SPF record, a sender policy framework, which is to do with spoofing protection and shows what can be included in that SPF record. And by default, it adds the outlook.com details for that record. Now, these are the standard ones that the basic ones, shall we say, but you can click on advanced options as well and choose more records to add in. Why, for the life of me, this still says Skype for Business, I'm not really sure. Only select this option if your organization uses Skype for Business for online communication services like chat and conference calls and video calls, in addition to Microsoft Teams. So I don't know why that's not labeled as Microsoft Teams now, unless I've had a complete mind meld, for lack of a better term, and have misunderstood why that is still there. So if we want to add these in, we've got some more records we need to put in, some CNAME records and some SRV records. These SRV records, depending on your DNS provider, can be quite tricky to put in place. They're a little bit fiddly, but we'll show you how to do them. We've also got Intune and mobile device management for Microsoft 365 records, some CNAME records there, and this service will help you to secure and remotely manage mobile devices that connect to your domain. MDM needs 2 CNAME records so that users can enroll their devices into the service. So very important, these ones, if you're going to be using Intune in your organization. So just let's select all of these and we'll go through and add them in one at a time. We will start with the MX record. So again, I'm quite happy with all of the host name is @ I'll copy the value there because that's the longest and most difficult to remember. The priority for MX records, we will set that to 0. The lowest number of priority for MX records. The lowest number of priority for MX records is the one that is going to be used first, so that's definitely what we want. And the time to live is recommended to be 1 hour again. So, okay, MX records. So let's go back to our advanced DNS here, and we need to add in an MX record here. So, back in our Namecheap console, let's go to add a new record and scroll down. Now, you'll notice right away that we can't actually select an MX record here. So how do we get this in? And I'm genuinely trying to recall, because it's been a while since I did this, and I think it's because we need to do it under the mail settings here. There we go. I think, and you'll find different little quirks like this depending on your particular DNS provider. So I believe I need to put custom MX in there, and then it will add that MX record in. So we'll put in the hostname of we'll put in the value for the mail server, paste that in, our item there, and priority was 0. The time to live, do you know, I've forgotten that already. What was that again? Was 1 hour for the MX record. So let's go back to the TTL and put in our 60 minutes. Let's save all changes. Okay, that's 1 done. So absolutely fantastic. 1 down, several to go. Okay, let's go back to our list of records now. Next, we've got our CNAME records. We need to add in the Autodiscover record. The host name is going to be Autodiscover. The address value is going to be autodiscover.outlook.com. Time to live 1 hour. So this is a CNAME record. We go back, click on to add a new record, scroll down to CNAME record. Our host name is Autodiscover. Our target is autodiscover.outlook.com. Our time to live 60 minutes. Save our changes, and that's another good job done. Fantastic. There's our CNAME record all in there. Another one done. Okay, next one on the list. We need to add another text record here for the SPF records and the policy framework. So expected record, in this case @ again. The text value will definitely copy that one, but this is v equals SPF1, and then it tells us here what we can include in the record, and we're going to be including spf.protection.outlook.com/all, not forward slash, sorry, -all. And actually there are various different settings you can put in front of that all. You can put a little squiggly curly sort of dash in, which I think is called a tilde, and which version of that you put in place will determine how exactly that SPF record is adhered to, shall we say. The time to live is 1 hour, so we copy that text record back to our advanced DNS, add a new record, text record again, and @ and 60 minutes. Save our changes. Okay, we're getting somewhere here. We're getting a lot of records in place. Let's go back again. Okay, so we've done this, the standard ones, the recommended ones. We're now into the more advanced option ones. So here we're going to add in our CNAME records, our 2 CNAME records for Skype for Business, or more appropriately Teams. So we'll start with the first one, which is the host name of SIP, sipdir.online.link.com. Now you can tell how old these records are because it's going back to the name link, which was in the history of where Teams is today. You can track the origins of Teams right back to MSN Messenger and Microsoft Link, and then Skype and Skype for Business Online, and all the way to Teams. But the records to this day are still called Link, which is quite interesting. So let's copy that address again. Make sure we've copied that. Hostname SIP, that's the address. Time to live is 1 hour. Let's go back, and it's a CNAME record. So we go and we add a new record. It's a CNAME. Hostname is it's SIP. So we're used to putting @ in there. sipdir.online.com, 60 minutes, and save the changes. SIP. Okay, this is where I'm always sure I'm going to make a mistake. Next one's a little tricky to remember because the host name and the first part of the address value on that first one sort of link nicely because they're both SIP. This one's slightly different because it's link discover and webdir on .online.link.com. So we'll copy that one. Just remember that that host name is Linkdiscover and it's 1 hour. So again, a CNAME. Yeah, I've already forgotten. Linkdiscover, okay. Linkdiscover. Add a new record. CNAME record. Linkdiscover. Our target is that. Our time to live is 60 minutes. We want to save our changes. Absolutely fantastic. We're motoring through these, aren't we? And that is our CNAME records added. Now these are the really hard ones to add, the SRV records. Even if your domain provider is geared up to add these in, as mine is, it's still a bit fiddly, and you have to sort of go back and forth and refer to this, and sometimes on the control panel these items are in different orders. So you've got service, protocol, port, wait, priority, time to live, name, and the target. So bear with me while I do this. This might be a little bit jumpy. So the SRV records, and the service we want for this first one is _SIP. So let's copy that. Service _SIP. So add a new record. It's an SRV record, service _SIP. Next value it wants is protocol. So let's look for our protocol. That's in the right order. It's _TLS. We'll copy that. We'll paste it in. Next one we want is priority. And priority is a little bit further along here. So go along to that. Priority is 100. Paste in our 100. Next value we want is wait. And what is the wait for this one? The wait is 1. Nice and simple. Next we need the port. So if we go back and find the port value, it's port 443. And we paste that in. The target name, what is the target name for this record? sipdir.online.link.com. And copy that and we paste that in. And the TTL, what's the TTL for this one? 1 hour. 1 hour. And we don't have a host. Oh, we do have a host name. It's at and 1 hour are our last couple of entries. So it's 1 hour, 60 minutes. But in here, we don't have a host name in this case for an SRV record, but that's fine. We can just ignore that and click to save all those changes there. So that is SRV record number 1 all added in. We need to do the next one now. The second of our SRV CNAME, jumped ahead there. The second of our SRV records, and this one is the _SIP Federation TLS. Okay, so let's copy that first one, which is the service name, SRV record. Okay, and our service name is SIP Federation TLS. Our protocol is _TCP. Okay, our priority is going to be 100. Okay, priority is there. The wait for this record is going to be 1. The port for this, I think it was 5061. Indeed it was, port 5061. Pop that in there. What is our target address? Let's switch back, get our target, which is sipfed.online.link.com. That's our target. And our time to live, which is going to be 1 hour again, which is 60 minutes. 60 minutes. So let's pop that in and save. And you notice that's saved as 30 minutes, so that must be the default for this particular hosting provider. I've just noticed it's done that for these 2 SRV records, which is fine. you'll find that sometimes the default settings override. So we're doing well here. We're onto the last 2 records that we need to add for Intune and mobile device management for Microsoft 365. The CNAME records here. So we've got 2, and we need to add the first one is enterprise registration as the host name. So add a CNAME record. Host name is enterprise registration. The target is enterprise registration.windows.net. Our time to live is 1 hour. Okay, so target, time to live, 60 minutes. Let's press that green tick and save that. And we have 1 last record to add. Oh, we've done really well with this. The final one is enterprise enrollment. So let's put in our host name of our new CNAME record, enterprise enrollment, and the value enterprise enrollment -s.manage.microsoft.com is our value, and our time to live again is 1 hour. So there we go, all done in the DNS Control Panel. Absolutely amazing, and that didn't take too long, really, did it? The only really fiddly bits were that SRV record, and once you get used to doing that, it's not too bad. Some domain providers may even let you upload these in the form of some sort of text file that you can share with them and do it that way. There's other ways and means, but this isn't too painful. But that's how you do it. Certainly in my Namecheap provider. Now with all those added, we've gone through all of those. We need to click on continue and see if it likes what we've done. It may again take a little bit of time for everything to populate around the internet, but no, it is very, very happy. Domain setup is complete, and if it wasn't, it would tell you here. It would give you some red errors and some instructions on what you'd need to do in order to fix those problems. That was really nice and simple. So we can click on done now, and that's how you do it. Inceptionmatrix.com, another nice domain in my Microsoft 365 tenant, looking all nice and healthy. I can go to my users, I can click on them, I can pick on good old Christine Chappell, for example, and I might want to change her primary username and email address and have her, instead of be peterrisingm365.com, I might want to edit that and change that in my drop down there to inceptionmatrix.com. Click on done, click on save changes, and that should be nice and simple indeed. Saving, and yeah, there we go. Lovely stuff, and it even keeps the previous one in there as an alias, which is really nice. But there we go, change is made. That's how it's done. The only other thing to mention is that some DNS hosting providers, GoDaddy is a good example of this, will enable you to, when you add your domain in Office 365 or Microsoft 365 in the settings domain section, it will automatically add the records for you if you provide your GoDaddy login credentials, for example. So there are certain pre-approved domain hosting providers where you can do that. All I would say is that you need to be very careful of that, because if you do have such a domain hosting situation, you might not be ready to point all of those records to Office 365. You might be in the middle of some form of migration, and it might not be a good time for auto population of those records, because it could cause quite a bit of disruption to your end users. So watch out for that. So there you go. Let's wind this video up. And that's it for another video, folks. Thank you so much for watching as ever. Please give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video. I hope it's been useful. Please also do remember to hit that subscribe button if you could for me, please. It helps me so much to grow, and consider becoming a member if you want to support the channel even more. Let me know in the comments what you thought about this particular subject. Have you had any challenges with adding domains to Microsoft 365 tenants and adding your DNS records? What sort of situations have you found yourself in? Just bear in mind that every DNS hosting provider tends to look and feel that little bit different, so get a feel for what you're working with. But by and large, most of the good ones will enable you to add those records in quite easily by now. Let's face it, Microsoft 365 has been around for a long enough time now for the decent ones to know what they're doing and give you the support that you need. So there you go, that's it. Let's wind this one up. If you want to reach out and chat with me, reach out in the comments, reach out to me on Twitter or X at m365.com. I'm on LinkedIn as well, Blue Sky, Threads on Instagram. Not hard to find. You all take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in another video very soon. Bye-bye.